All right, fifth graders, today we are going to be using the Geli plates to do some printing. Now the prints that you're going to be doing today are going to have multiple layers. So as a table, you need to decide 3 colors that you're going to use for your prints. I thought a lot about how these colors are going to mix. So I used yellow, orange, and red. Those are analogous colors. If they mix for some reason, they're going to look good together. After you've chosen your 3 colors, you're going to need a Geli plate. You're going to need a messy mat. Each color will need its own tray and brayer. And you're going to need to get some papers from the drive-thru. The first paper that you're going to need to get are just lightweight computer papers. You can feel by touching them, they're really flimsy. You're also going to need to get 2 heavier weight papers. These are going to be used for your final prints. I'm going to put my name on them first. Mrs. C and your class code. All right, this is going to be the back. Now, on your print, you need to decide a shape to use. On this print, I use the shape of a leaf, a monstera leaf. On this print, I use the shape of a square. So it could be as complicated as the shape as you would like. Just kind of keep in mind that you're going to have to repeat it several times. On this print, I cut out different shapes of leaves. This one I did different shapes of squares, sizes, sizes, and directions. For this print, I'm going to just do the same monstera leaf. I layered the papers together so I could cut out 2 or 3 at a time, and then I'll just change these as I go. So I've got 3 monstera leaves that I'll do my prints with. All right, the first one, you're going to put your shape, whatever shape you decide to choose on, a square, a heart, and I like to work lightest to darkest. I also like to work biggest to smallest. So this will be my biggest leaf, and I'm going to use my lightest color. So I'm going to roll the brayer into the paint. Sometimes you kind of have to push the paint off to the side so that you have a nice smooth surface to roll your brayer on. We're going to be using paint today, not ink, and it makes it pretty slippery. You want your brayer evenly coated with paint all the way around. Now when you go to roll the brayer on these shapes, a lot of times the paper wants to stick to the brayer and roll up. So you have to kind of be sneaky and hold down. See how I'm just using my fingertips to hold that down on the side so that the paper doesn't come up? I'm trying to get an even coat of paint on the whole stamp. The bigger your shapes are, the easier that will be. The smaller your shapes are, it's easier for the paper to stick up to the brayer. All right, so I've got that on. I'll move these off to the side. This side of my messy mat I'm just gonna kind of use for garbage. I'm gonna peel this leaf off, put it in my garbage pile. If I have any little bit of paint on my hands, I just kind of wipe it on my messy mat, or I could have a blue washcloth. And I'm gonna lay my paper on top. Now once the paper's on here, it can't wiggle at all. So as you're putting it down, you have to kind of go slowly. And once it's on there, you can't move it. I need to rub from corner to side to corner all the way across. When you're putting your paper on, you should see your name. If you don't see your name, you're printing on the wrong side. Am I having my stamp go on my paper? Nope, the paper's going on my stamp. Lift that up, and I've got my first print. Looks pretty good. All right, my second print, I'm gonna use a medium-sized shape. I've got this monstera all cut up, so I'm just gonna kind of arrange it in a different way. The first one was going diagonal. This one I'm gonna have it go horizontal across the top. And I'm gonna use my medium color. For me, that's orange. So with the orange paint, I'm rolling it so that I have an even coating of paint around the whole brayer. You can kind of see I have a puddle on that side because I used quite a bit of paint. And I think I'm gonna even use a little bit of this one too. Let's see what this looks like. A lot of times when I work with Geli plates, 5th graders, it's just kind of like an experiment. You don't know how it's gonna work. Now you can see that yellow one wants to come up, so I've got to use my fingertips to kind of hold it in place. Trying to apply paint. Seal these shapes up. Put them on my garbage pile. Won't need those again, I don't think. Lay my paper down. Don't let it wiggle. Rub on the back. Here's my second print. This is looking cool. All right, my last one is gonna be my darkest color, and I like to have the littlest amount of that darkest color. That's just my opinion. So you get to decide how you want yours to look. Maybe I'll put it like this. I'm trying to organize that shape so that I don't see that flat edge. All right, hold down the paper, apply my paint, peel up my shape. Don't let it wiggle. Awesome, my prints are done. This turned out pretty cool. All right, now if you have time and you would like to try a second one with a different kind of shape, you might think a little bit about contrast. If these shapes are really organic, maybe I'd want to do a second one that's really geometric. Or if you've got something that's smooth, maybe the next one will be sharp. Thinking about contrasting ideas from one print to the next. So if you have time and you're going to try a second print, grab a wet wipe from the drive-thru and you're going to use that to clean off your jelly plate. Okay, one wet wipe will be just fine. You kind of have to open it and refold it to get off the ink. Clean off that jelly plate so that the shapes from your first print aren't going to end up on your second print. Now this is pretty wet, so what I did was used a newspaper, or you could even just flip it over and use the other side, but we want to kind of get some of that wetness from the wet wipe off. So use your messy mat or grab a little piece of newspaper or paper towel and kind of dry that off. Okay, so if I was going to do a second series of prints, I need to go grab some more computer paper and think of a contrasting idea. So I had leaves, maybe I want to do something geometric. For that square print, what I thought about a lot was negative space. So if I'm cutting these squares and I fold them in half, I cut out a middle so that there was a little bit of negative space in there. So as you're designing your shapes, get creative. Something simple like a square could be really cool. It's up to you, fifth graders, how you decide to create your artwork today. There's a lot of artist choice, what shapes you use, what colors you use, how you arrange them. So get creative. I'm excited to see what you come up with. Okay, when you're all done with your prints, you need to grab a second wet wipe, wipe down your jelly plate, and then give it a little rinse in the sink so that antiseptic cleaner isn't on there. I think that will wreck the jelly plate. We'll get rid of this surface on there. Your prints need to go on your messy mat. Garbage gets thrown away. And that will go in the drying rack. Brayers and trays get washed up in the sink as well.